All right, so hello, welcome to Startup Business Q&A episode 99. Thank you everyone for joining, and well, this is the last time. We'll be double figures, and of course then after this, next week, we won't be here. We will be next week in the Shard for episode 100, and so I'm really excited about this. I'm going to let a few people come online first because there's some exciting things happening. I want to talk about the new LinkedIn course that's released today. There is a special offer for you lot if you're interested in it. I want to talk about LinkedIn a bit as well. And I've also got your questions here, so thank you those of you who've sent them through. As you're coming in, let me know where you're listening from. Hello, Bonze. Hello, Haz. Hello, Ivory Nemarin. And hello, YouTube. Hello, Facebook is live now, and hello, Instagram as well. Also, those of you listening retrospectively in the podcast, good to see you're checking out this every week as well. It's really, really wonderful that people are doing that. So today we've got a lot of wonderful things to talk about. I can't believe we're doing this now, episode 99. So it would have been about 2 years ago that I thought to myself, I really need to get this live thing going. People are asking me so many questions every day by DM. Why don't I just make it an organized a way to create content? I remember very well the first episode, and I went downstairs afterwards to the kitchen to make a cup of tea. And I was like, wow, that was really great fun. And everyone really, it was really good to do. And I remember the 20th episode really well. I remember the 50th one really well. And of course, we rolled out the sales Q&A as well. That used to be on a Thursday. That was, I think we did 50 of those episodes. But yeah, everyone jumping in, just thanks very much for doing so. It was just a lot of fun doing that. And we've gone through, 60, 70, 80, 90, and now episode 99. I'm really, really pleased to be here. The only reason why we're now doing episode 99, we've got this far, is because every single week you guys show up and ask questions and pay attention. If no one was interested, as in if I got feedback that this is not a good idea, I really would have stopped it. So amazing that everyone's come in. Thank you so much. As I said, next week is episode 100. If you've never seen this before, this is Startup Business Q&A. Each week I answer live your questions on startups and entrepreneurship. I'm Richard Moore. I've been working in this space a very long time, many years, and I help coach people on their sales, on their marketing, and growing their businesses. And we've had some wonderful stories over the years. Today, we've got a couple of things happening. So as well as it being episode 99, and if you have a question, you can, of course, ask it live. I'm watching the stream over here on YouTube and on Facebook in case you have questions there, and also here on Instagram. So the LinkedIn course is live now. So if you are listening to this right now, please give me a thumbs up or write a comment. If you do that, then more people will be aware that this live stream is happening. Then more people will be able to see it and then jump on as well. It's important to do this to make sure that people aren't missing out on anything. But the LinkedIn course, so last year, about November, I called it. I'm going to find the post. I don't know how, but I'm going to find the post. And it was basically, I said, something's happening on LinkedIn is really kicking off, because I think it was about a year ago, it was maybe even June or July last year, when LinkedIn enabled video, and it's starting to pop, I thought. And then I was planning a few things, and then in March of this year, I decided to start building something so I could create this course. I'm really enjoying LinkedIn. I use it for a lot of business anyway, but the idea behind it was, how can I generate vast engagement, right, with one post per day? Because everyone's got enough to do, right? They've got, you've got loads of other content to produce on other platforms, other things like that. One post per day, okay? And in addition to that, working on focusing on building community. So it wasn't about getting followers, okay? So in the 3 odd months, it's gone from a couple of hundred to now over 3,200, completely organic, okay? So there's no gaming anywhere other than knowing how to build a community in a certain way. So I've now released the course. It's here today. If you're on LinkedIn, sorry, on Facebook, you'll see there's a little link in the title here. But if you just go to therichardmoore.com, my website, /LinkedIn, or just drop down on the products, you can see it says LinkedIn there. So the whole point of it is to not try and be some kind of expert. It's just using the evidence, the hard evidence, which is every post gets like 100 odd likes, gets thousands and thousands of views, but more importantly, gets loads of engagement, like 50, 60, 70 comments. But more importantly, even more importantly than that, is we've moved. Hello, Kamala. Hello, Sushi. Hello, Haz. Hello, Daniel. Hello, Rufino. Hello, Dieter. Hello, Bonsai. Everyone who's jumped in on Facebook. One thing that's really important is that there's opportunities. So speaking gigs, influencer marketing gigs, speaking with companies to help them with their strategy, jumping on consulting calls, new clients as well. So all of that stuff has come in the last 3 months from LinkedIn. Here, though, is the exciting bit. That course that I've just released today is how I built it to this level in 3 months from a standing start. Now, I knew I would be able to work this out, but I made all the trial and error kind of mistakes on the way as well. All is to say, probably the first month you could write off. So could you do better, faster? Sure, I really think you could. But today, the idea is, if what we're trying to do is build a, I'm trying to build this, well, I have built this course, which is about being accessible, keeping it as simple as anything, no highbrow stuff, just the basic stuffs using this process I developed called the 3 C's, which is content, connections, and community. So working on how to build those 2 things is what I've done. So basically, if you are watching this live stream and you are in the next 24 hours, if you would like the course with 20% off, then you have to DM me. The course is $97. That is the price of it. I've got a really low price point because I'd love everyone to try it out. As usual with all of my products, is 100% money back guarantee. So if you don't want it because it's rubbish and you've had 0 impact, let me know and I'll give you your money back, because that's never happened and it would be absurd to think that you don't get an impact. But if you genuinely don't from doing the course, then you get your money back. So there's no risk for you at all. But if you want 20% off it, then you need to DM me and you can get the course at 20% less, and I'll ping you a link out. That is only for 24 hours. That way, everyone on the podcast, on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Facebook gets a chance to do it, and thereafter it's 97. Anyway, let's go on with the questions. So this is episode 99. Dieter has just asked you, how big is the course? It's about 2.5 hours, Dieter. There are 4 main strands to it. So there's an introduction, and then there is setting up the profile. So it's not like world-class optimism for like a professional. It's what I did that's worked really well. Okay, so there is setting up the profile. Then there is a session on content, a session on connections, and a session on community. So the 3 C's that I use of LinkedIn, and it's all nice and clear. Is everything you need to get probably better results than I have within those 3 months. And some people have been using some of the techniques already, and it's like impact within the first days of doing it. So the idea is you're all busy, you're all doing other things. So by posting once a day, using the special techniques I'm doing is working really well. And it's not spammy stuff. It's like real quality engagement. No buying likes or anything like that. No running ads, just ways in which you can genuinely win with it. So that works really well. So if you want to check it out, then DM me and I'll let you know. But anyway, let's focus on the questions. First one here is from Benjamin Allen. He said, Richard, I'd love to get your thoughts on moonlighting. Moonlighting being, you got your main thing and then you go and do something else as well, maybe to pay bills, for example. When, if, and how should you do it? So I'm really strong on this idea that if you can, if it's at all possible to kind of hold your breath and focus on building your thing, if you can survive while you're doing it, then do so, because it means you've got more time and energy and resource to put into the thing you're trying to building, rather than being distracted by focusing out on other things. But it is a truth that for most, you have to do the stuff you possibly don't want to do in order to pay the bills so you can do the things you really want to do. There's, so many stories over the years of, artists who want to make the music they want to make or paint the pictures they want to paint or whatever it might be, but they have to do the daily work as well. I know a guy who's a phenomenal relationship coach, but to start himself off, he had to just do some Uber driving to make sure he could pay the bills, right? So, it's different for everyone, but I do think that that one way to look at moonlighting is, why don't you try and give it your worst hours? In a day, you have your best hours and you have your worst hours, right? Your best hours, the ones where you're most awake, feeling good, like now. Okay, so that's when I give my best. So I give my best hours to the stuff I'm going to, you know, that I really, really am into, like this. And moonlighting. So if it's like, I don't know, I've got to take some job in something I don't really want to do, but I need just that extra bit of cash to keep me afloat. So then do it part-time and do that one late at night rather than your main, you know, the thing you really love doing. Give your best hours to your thing, okay? And give your worst hours to the stuff you have to kind of just moonlight doing. Because, you know, if you're going to get paid for it anyway, you might as well do it in the time when you're not feeling it as much as possible. That really works for me. But I think you just got to appreciate it's typically a necessary evil till you get to a point where the bill's being paid by your own thing. I think you should do it. But if you can at all get by without it, or with doing it in a minimal amount, taking on extra work, doing other things, then you should really try to, because you got to ask yourself. And I've always said this, and because I was a corporate job before I decided to stop my 9 to 5 and then do my own consulting work. And I remember thinking, it's so important to recognize that you can live on a lot less than you need to, right? Rather than getting thousands and thousands of dollars or pounds in every single week or whatever, you might be able to survive on a lot less. So ask yourself, are you moonlighting to try and sustain a certain lifestyle? Do you really need it? And if not, maybe you don't have to do quite as much. Another thing as well is a lot of people, this is worth adding at this point, a lot of people talk about doing a 9 to 5, then doing their thing, okay? As in stopping it, then doing their thing. There is an alternative. There is doing a 9 to 5, then doing something part-time and transitioning. So you're not earning quite as much, but it's because your side hustle is becoming your main hustle. So you can kind of move over. So there is a middle ground. But you know, one thing I would say, Ben, is a really good question. If you're just trying to take on extra work to make a bit of extra money here and there, just remember that if you have your hands in too many fingers in too many pies, you're doing too many different things, it's going to really kind of take you in all different directions, and that can be really hard to navigate. I know this because I've done it. There was one point when I had 4 businesses running because I had the taekwondo school as well, and it was really a bit full on. And you know, I was moving from one very different world to another, and it's quite difficult to do. And I think you know, taking 3 jobs on might be a little bit more straightforward if you're doing them in a similar space than if you're doing, you know, cleaning, then taking in laundry, and then something completely off the wall like running someone's bank accounts and bookkeeping for them. So whatever it is, just think about trying to keep it in similar kind of space. That's a bit of advice I would give. But just remember, you can live on a lot less than you need to. Do you really need this extra money, or is it just because you want to hang out and go party a bit more? Maybe you don't need to do it quite as much. Is it definitely an important consideration? There's a lot of messages here on Facebook. Has Lath, I haven't seen your name before, so thanks so much for jumping in for the first time. What's the best book you read on being organized and planning your day or year? There is a book called The Decision Book. I've got wall to floor books around here. Decision Book, it might be up there actually. I have no idea where it is. Very small little black book. It's actually, I think it might be on my website, might be a review of it. But if you look up The Decision Book, it's 50 methods for making decisions and being optimized. Another one, if you have meetings, is Read This Before Our Next Meeting by Alpert and Pally. And a third but really great one is What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School by Mark, what's his second name? I'm trying to find it. So Mark McCormack, who built the IMG Sports Agency. He obviously went to Harvard Business School as well, and it's just a practical guide to being organized and planning, but also business and sales in general. I really like that. I would query whether or not you need to plan your entire year, especially as a startup or an entrepreneur. There's more agility is needed than that, in my opinion. I usually kind of have a bit of time with myself at the start of my year. So my year starts on my birthday. So the 8th of October is when it's my birthday, and that's when I take stock of what the last 12 months have been, as opposed to 2017 or 2018. So that's kind of when I have a lot of my kind of goals and objectives. But otherwise, I don't do it too much by quarter. I have a look at it when it pertains to college students and grads. How would you suggest engaging their talents and skills as they're looking into internships and career experiences? Yeah, if we're looking at students who are looking to get experience, the problem is that people aren't looking at what the priority is. People are looking at money and surviving, And sometimes you have to just take the job you don't want to do, and let that be the motivation. I said this to someone recently. Let that be the motivation and drive to get you out of that job you want to do, by really going at it in your spare time with your actual business you're trying to build. But the problem is people are putting the wrong priority in front of another, which is, I want to make money, I want to make profit, I want to be, some kind of baller, but I have no experience. And people are needing experience, but not willing to take a short-term hit and maybe do it for free or an outrageously low price or something like that. Far more effective to get a result in terms of having some experience and working with someone. If you can't get anyone to say yes to you and give you money, get something happening. Let me put it this way to keep it really simple. If I have a 2-week period, if I'm brand new at consulting and I've never ever worked with anyone, and over 2 weeks, because I'm stubbornly trying to hold up my prices and not getting anyone to buy any services at all, far better to get some experience, some time on the pitch, and just work for a slightly lower rate, so people can actually be saying, yeah, this guy's great. And then you have the opportunity to close them at a higher rate after, say, the 2 weeks. One of my first consulting jobs, I was paid an absolute pittance. It was like £300. That's like $400 for an entire day's work, right? And I took it because I was like, I want to get some more experience doing this, and it's worth, at least then I've got a client, and I can build it from there. But there's a stubbornness often to not do that. So Daniel, hopefully it helps a bit. Daniel, the decision book, read this before your next meeting. And the last title, thanks for writing notes here, by the way, I should be paying you for that, I think. The last one is What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School. Hello, Johnny. Hello, Rich Decker. Nice to see you here as well. Just want to pass on word that in the Entrepreneur Business Group, the free Facebook business group we have which has got about 3,500 people. We're doing a Facebook hijack series at the moment. So I believe it's Danny Battershill is going to be doing a live hijack all the way from Auckland, New Zealand today, just after this show, I believe it is. But also Rich Decker. So thanks for jumping on here, Rich. You're going to be live tomorrow in the group. And each person's going to add a kind of TED Talk style piece of value. So that should be good fun. Episode 99 today. Thanks everyone for joining in. The LinkedIn Basics of LinkedIn course is now live on my website, so therichardmoore.com. If you want it 20% lower than the $97, then you can DM me. You have 24 hours to do so, and I'll send you a different link, which will give you access at that lower price. But otherwise, do check it out. It's been phenomenal the last 3 months with LinkedIn. The level of engagement, but more importantly, the opportunities coming out of it are just outrageous, and the course is practically how I did it, basically. Let's jump on to another question. Matan Gochman has asked, Richard, how do you get the best from your team members? This is actually really appropriate because because I'm coaching a lot of leadership stuff at the moment with some clients in London, and what you have to do first is sell yourself on the fact that it is a team with you as a head, which means you need to be leading. And leading really means inspiring and doing everything you can for them. You need to try your best to almost outwork everyone. You need to try your best to do everything you possibly can to equip that team. You need to be there for them in every way as much as possible. The reason why I've said you need to sell yourself on that is because far too many people, and I've done this job, I've worked with managing teams, but also coaching it for well over 10 years now. One thing is clear is that those that fail at leadership and running a team and getting the best from the team members are the ones who cannot accept that there is the best way to look at it is that everything is their responsibility. There's far too many excuses like, oh, but my team, they're not really up for it today, or look, they're not very interested in the job, or they're bored with what we have to do. They show up late all the time. All this stuff's excuses that you have control over. Firstly, you probably hired them. Even if you've got people that you inherited, you can do something about it. But you've got to think to yourself, if everything is my responsibility and excuses aren't allowed, what am I going to do about it? I said this to someone last week. He was like, he needed some outrageous amount of money by the end of the week in order to be on target because he was so far behind. And he was like, I'm just kind of seeing what I can get away with now. I was like, no, you need to be superhuman. You need, because he was like, if I don't make it, you could see it on his face. If I don't make it, well, maybe it doesn't really matter too much. No, it needs to be, you know what? That has to happen. So maybe I need to go outside comfort zone. Maybe I need to do a little bit more than usual. Maybe I need to do some real kind of hero stuff. And that's what my team will then want to do as well. So to really inspire and get the best from your team members, you have to lead the charge yourself. You are the leader after all. And an admin manager is no inspiration for a team. Absolutely not. There is management, but then there really is leadership as well. And leadership is that inspiration. But knowing that wherever your team wants, that goes for environment and culture, as well as practical things like pens and pencils. It's for you to give it to them. Okay, sure, show them, empower them, let them have initiative, things like that. But you need to make sure that you're giving them everything they could possibly want. Okay, thanks everyone for jumping on it on Instagram. There's so many of you coming here. It's really wonderful, and on link and on Facebook as well. Camelot, I have to drop kids to school. You're such an inspiration. Thank you very much. Good luck with the school run. And Daniel Nunes, yes, Danny Battitil will be there a bit later today on the Facebook group. So next question here, and Matt, and I really hope that helps. Show them, okay? Don't tell, show. Don't tell people how to close deals. Get on the phone or go to a meeting and show them. There's a great sales director I'm working with at the moment, and every so often he'll pick up the phone and generate a piece of business himself, just so everyone knows that the guy is great. Rather than, hey, you do this, hey, you do that, or work a bit harder. It's far better for you to also demonstrate it. It really makes a big difference. Okay. Next question for Nadine Langlois, and she's asked how I still don't know how to say your name, probably, by the way, Nadine. Langlois, was this French, I'm guessing. How do you define a lead in such a vastness of networking? Well, I thought about this a bit, and I thought, let's give you some practical steps. So any of you involved in content marketing will be aware that it's so important to navigate the massive people that you might get into orbit around you. And it's important to make sure that you have a set of kind of things you're looking out for. If you're genuinely looking to, in the nicest possible way, use networking and marketing that brings in people to leverage into potential clients. So this qualification process is actually really powerful if you get it right. So a few things I thought of were, first and foremost, there needs to be need. Okay, there has to be need on the part of the person you engage with. And how do you uncover that? Well, it's through conversation. And the direct message spam on the first message kind of approach is going to kill you straight away. Something I've talked about, in fact, on LinkedIn, on a post of yours, Nadine, recently, is you have to earn the right to get there. So asking the big questions first, like, for instance, so what is it you need right now? Or how can I help? Is actually too much, because you might scare some people off. So working your way up with what I call low intensity questions, so small closed questions, just to get the ball rolling, is a better way of building some momentum, really. And you'll move to a point where that person will be feeling comfortable with you. And if they do, then they'll share. If someone's willing to share, then you might move them to a point where you can really find out what the need is. Need is essential, because otherwise you'll offer a service that person doesn't really care about, because it's not on their radar at all. So that's the first. There's 4 things I was thinking of. So the first one's need. Second one is receptivity. Now, receptivity comes from a number of different angles, but basically they need to buy into you. They need to think you're a good person. If I have a need and someone has a solution, it doesn't mean there's going to be a transaction, because I have to buy into the person, the whole feeling comfortable around them as well. There needs to be an element of trust involved there. And that receptivity also has to come from them in terms of kind of their mindset towards this problem. Some people are closed, and they're going to be closed for a long time, so you have to take your time and open them up. Otherwise, you'll end up with someone with a need, but an unwillingness to fix it. But the receptivity means that they need to dig you. They need to be into you. And if there's someone who thinks you're a good person, then that really wins. And you know, the LinkedIn course I'm releasing is just a perfect example of that. All the people who are like, hey, can we hop on a call, please? You know, they pay the fee, they get the nice little consulting call with me. That's not me hard closing anyone. That's the receptivity where they're like, do you know what? The guy shows up every day. The value feels good. I think he's not too much of a douche, so I'd like to speak to him, you know. And I think that goes a long way. So think about that. It says need, but also receptivity to you. There's got to be a connection forming, at least, if not already formed. The next thing is accessibility. This is important because you need to think about things like culture and language, time zone to a degree, but you know, accessibility. Can you actually get to engage with this person, you know, in a decent way? Is it possible that you might be able to get on a call or something? Is that person just offline all the way? Is that kind of the kind of person who's got a very different worldview of what you might be able to help them with? Do you see what I mean? So some people just don't do online. Some people just don't do video calls. Some people just don't speak the language really well. Some people culturally expect different things from that which you'll provide. And all is to say, you're just not going to gel well enough. So that's not necessarily going to be the best lead for you. So if you're networking, you've got this mass of people you could dip into, say Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, you might move to a place where you're like, do you know what? There's just something that just, we seem to click. We speak the language well. We kind of have the same vibe. We're on the same wavelength, things like that. They're the better ones for you than the ones who you're like, I don't get, you know, how you understand the world. You're a completely different person. You're very foreign to me in mindset. That they're not going to be as easily accessed, if you like, in the sense of, you know, being a good customer. And look, you want long-term relationships, right? Because then this person who buys from you loves you, and then pass on the word to other people as well. But the fourth thing, Nadine, as well as need, receptivity, and accessibility, I thought was that they just have to be ready. You know, two things there. In being ready, they have to have the time to, because there's a company I work with, I'm seeing next week actually, and they have an amazing product. They charge sometimes $60,000, $70,000 it would convert to for this product. And even the clients are like, this is great. I love it. It's fantastic. I love what you're doing. I love how versatile and useful it is, but we don't use it. Why? Because culturally, they just don't bother. We don't have the time. We're so busy doing all this other stuff that in principle, it's great, like notionally, but there's no one on the ground who can actually be assigned use of this product to make the best use of it. So we'll kind of leave it, thanks. So that's quite irritating. So they have to have the time to do it. But the other thing in terms of being ready, Nadine, is they have to have the money. Okay. Some people just don't have the money, or their worldview of their money is that paying a certain amount of money is too expensive. So, for instance, in terms of the value, if you're in any way doing anything online and you're going to try and make some money or get clients or whatever, $97 for the LinkedIn course is like it's bordering immorally low amount. The whole point is I want it to be an accessible course that I sell volume on. But the idea behind it is that it's a course that can generate you far more in return. So I think that the problem is that you'll get some people like, oh, of course I'll buy that because this is exactly what I need right now because I'm focusing on building my LinkedIn. There's some people who are frustrated who can't get any wins on LinkedIn and they'll see it as the solution and they'll see it works. But there are some people out there who might even be bought on it who just aren't sold on something bigger, which is actually getting their card out and spending money online. There's a lot of skepticism still because culturally it's fairly new to buy things online. And for some people, unless it's Amazon or their own bank account, their card goes nowhere near a computer, okay? And that's just it. And the thing is worth remembering that with some people, they'll never spend a single dollar online, okay? That doesn't mean, and this is my aside for you all, this is really important, this point, it doesn't mean that if they don't buy or aren't ever going to buy, it doesn't mean that they are a waste of your time. Some of the best people I've been working with, if you like, are the ones who give so much. And if they're into you, if you don't burn the bridge after they say no thanks and they really, really love what you do, they'll go share with the world, right? And that really matters. And I almost every week I bring this example up. But if you think back to that Taekwondo school, I had a student who wasn't on the top package. She was not paying that much money, but she single-handedly was worth so much because she told the world about this club. This is someone who went and got the club logo. So our club logo as a tattoo. That's how bought in she was. And her friends were showing up and they were all buying the kit and the merchandise and all this other stuff. And so there's thousands of pounds coming in every year. as a result, but not directly from her. Advocates, word of mouth, all that kind of thing's worth a lot. So they have need, receptivity, accessibility, and being ready. How do you uncover all this stuff? By just spending time with them. But that takes a lot of time. Yes, I know it does. So that's what it's all about, okay? And you'll soon tune into it and realize that you don't need to try and court everyone, and that whilst you should do your best to engage with everyone who crosses your path, because gratitude, right? Because that's really an amazing thing to happen. You'll just feel it after a while what people are far more relevant than others in terms of potential leads. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, you got some detail there. Thanks you for that question, Nadine. So let's jump on to Sarah Yusupov's question. And this is an apology for Sarah. Your questions that came through last week and I completely overlooked them. So I do apologize. And this is why I'm catching up. How do you market without spamming? It's actually really simple. You don't spam. That's all there is to it. Okay. You don't market with spamming because it's not proper marketing. It is just spamming. The way you do it, there are two plays. There is the short play and the long play. And Chilang Geinga, if you know her from the Entrepreneur Before 25 group, she actually wrote about this recently. I think it was probably 15th of June. So I think it's 4 days ago, 3 days ago. I don't even know what the date is. 3 days ago. She posted this on Facebook. So there's an article about the short and long plays. Your marketing, as content marketers go, your marketing should be quality, value-laden, huge value-laden content that's free and accessible for as many people as possible. Almost like this. And then what that does is those that might find some interest, especially over time, consuming again and again, will then come back to your profile and so on and check you out. Okay. If they're interested enough, if there's enough social proof, other people going, hey, that's really good, then what they'll do is they'll end up checking you out to the point that a few of those people will then buy something. That's the long play. That's the marketing you do. With impatience comes a need to try and close earlier. I get it. So there's the shorter play, which is individuals that you engage with one-to-one. And this is a bit like the direct messaging questions and conversations. I'm just talking about on Nadine's question there. You engage with people each day, maybe 20 new connections or even 10 new connections a day, start conversations and see where they go. And that's how you can identify a need faster and then close those ones off. But the marketing, there's no need to spam. And one guy told me, it was back in February, before I really kicked off my LinkedIn work, he was like, the one thing I don't do, Richard, is I don't put any links, like buy my stuff. In my post on LinkedIn. So it's very rare there'll be a link, pretty much never a link on any of my content on LinkedIn, because I know, and I've seen it because the data's there, that if I put out good enough value, people will be charging through to see me. So now thousands and thousands of people check out my profile every day, which is why it's no surprise at all that now I'm selling courses, because people then checking out the website and then they go, oh, this is great. And I keep seeing this guy, I'm quite interested in his stuff, and I happen to be relevant to it. So now I'll buy this as well. So that's how it works. Okay. And of course, then you've got potential people you can speak to about bigger things. So hopefully that helps. Sarah, you've got another question as well. How do you target several niches, perhaps just two? Yeah, there's not several, but yeah, two. I think it's a mistake to target several niches at once. The Lao Tzu quote, man who chases two rabbits catches none, is very appropriate here. Doesn't mean you can't work in two niches or more niches, but the approach should be that you don't do it simultaneously when you're setting up. It's really as simple as that. So if I kind of make a postmodern version of Lao Tzu's saying, all it is you can chase two rabbits and not and catch them both. What you do is you chase one first and catch that, then you chase the other one. Okay, do you see what I mean? So the Taekwondo school I set up after I'd already started doing consulting. Okay. And then I did my, a lot of online stuff as well. But that was after the Taekwondo school was established, all within really tight niches, but one at a time. Even within the Taekwondo school, I had a 3 to 5 year old class. Then I had a 6 to 12-year-old class. Then I had a come one, come all group. I even had a spin-off ladies only class. Then I had a cardio class. I launched them one at a time, because that way I could work in these, build a different niche, get it moving, and then move on from there. So that's the way I did it. Really, really worked. So you can target two niches, but you select one first. When you're selecting a niche, like how do I work? What's the thing I should be doing? You don't have to say, what's the one I love the most? You should be doing the one that's most accessible first, in my opinion, because you need to justify it by generating some business, by getting some clients in the door. So, you know, if I'm really into gaming and I'm also a really good florist, I don't know, you know, flower arranging and selling flowers, gaming may well take a very long time to set up to the point where I'm making really good money off it. You know, I have to build a following, an audience and so on. Whereas being a florist might be something I can access right away. Maybe I'm really good at it, sure, but if it's easier to access the customers, that's what I should be doing first, okay? The moonshot, great, but you need to survive in the meantime. This comes back to this idea of moonlighting that Ben brought up in the first question. I think it's really important to do it that way around. Michael here on Instagram just asked, what do you think about ClickFunnels? Worth it, or is there something better? There's two ways of looking at that. ClickFunnels is fantastic because this is a perfect example of what I'm just saying. Actually, it's very accessible. It's easy to use. It's like using WordPress or something like that, in the same sense that you can just open it up. It's fairly intuitive. You can work it out, drag and drop, use templates in your way. The other thing is that ClickFunnels is a bad idea if you're targeting, for instance, certain types of people. A high-end marketer might be looking at it and going, look, I can see your ClickFunnels URL here. It says ClickFunnels.Richard Moore's funnel. And, you know, it sounds very contrived. And then if I'm targeting a high-end marketer with the funnel, then they're not going to respect me on the right level. The average everyday person, if you can kind of debadge or create a vanity URL for the funnel you're making with ClickFunnels, then yeah, it's great. If you don't have a clue what you're doing, you're just starting out, go use ClickFunnels, because that's a great way of kind of setting you up so you can learn as you go. Do you see what I mean? So it's about accessibility. Can you get an MVP, a minimal viable product, to work? And if you can, you use that. In time, would you be using ClickFunnels? Possibly, but probably you'd spin off to something a bit more bespoke, like building your own website with its own funnel pages against which you can still run adverts, for instance. ClickFunnels is like your Lego. It's like your ABC, your Duplo. It's the nice, simple, easy thing that builds it and gets you going. But then there's maybe some way more high-end bespoke things that you can use later on once you get the hang of things, or once you get a web developer in or something like that. Would I use it? Yeah, I have done as well. Just be careful about being too templatey and spammy. We're certainly moved into a space now where people are starting to get a little bit more immune to the obvious, you know, formulaic sales funnels through using things like ClickFunnels. So you need to be careful about how it looks. All is to say, just try and keep it a bit more elegant, you know, with your delivery, rather than, you know, the fake timeout thing and, you know, we've only got 3 seats left for our webinar, all that kind of stuff. It can still work, but you just got to think about what you're trying to do and how elegant you can make it look. So hopefully that helps, Michael. Good question. I think we'll finish there. We'll finish with one more question. We've got Lisa Zhao has asked the question. Lisa, hello. I think over on Facebook. Thank you very much for joining if you did. Because I want to finish here. So not sure if you've answered this question yet, but I'm curious. How do people decide whether they should start their own business? No, it's not an easy journey. It's a great question. And it comes back to a question that was asked recently about a blog. And it was here on a Q&A, actually. I can't remember who asked it. But they said, I'm thinking of starting a blog. And then correct words to the effect of, should I do it or not? And I think it's the wrong way to look at it. So instead of thinking about if you should start a blog, you should start a blog, and then after time, think about if you should pivot it, stop it, continue it, okay? So the answer is, who knows until you do it and see how it goes. I'm thinking of starting a business, so start one and then see how it goes. Because no one can possibly know how you'll do. You might have the kind of DNA where you're just going to be rubbish at it and you don't really want to because you're quite a lazy person and you pick the wrong thing and you crash and burn. You might do really well because you never know. You might stumble across the next big thing or find something that you're quite good at and manage to leverage it in the right way. You can't possibly know the outcome unless you actually try it. So start thinking about starting a business, do it, try it. Because I think it's a wonderful experience. I don't know if it was Jim Rohn or not. It was someone who, there's a great quote about everyone should try and make $1 million, or everyone should try and become a millionaire. Not because of how great it might be if you're a millionaire. It's because of the journey it takes you through to become one. And I feel the same about starting your own business. It's almost, I think it was on Ron Malhotra's Successful Male podcast that he did an interview with me recently. And he asked about this. And I think we both agreed it should almost be like national service. You know, if everyone was forced to try and build something, like you got a year, build your own business or something like that, it would be amazing because you learn so much from it. So 100%, you know, I'm going to answer the question directly. How do people decide? They decide by doing it and then working. That's what my advice would be. Start by building a business and see if it goes well. And going well doesn't necessarily mean you become a millionaire. It means you might be really enjoying it. It might be, it makes you an income. It doesn't mean it has to. It could be a non-profit. But the point is that if you can do something and try it, then you should do that. Then decide if it's something you should continue based on whatever variables you like, such as, am I enjoying this? Am I making enough money? Does anyone even like the product? Okay. I really hope that helps. It's been great to speak to you all today. That was episode 99. I will not be here next week because I'll be in the Shard in London, the biggest, tallest building in Europe, I believe it is, because we'll be hosting episode 100 right there. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And I really hope you can join me next week. If you have any questions for the Q&A next week, please DM me them. And I will select a few to have on that show. If you would like the LinkedIn, Basics of LinkedIn course, then message me now. You have 24 hours and I'll give you a link it's just a PayPal link for 20% off and you can have access there, lifetime access as well. But after 24 hours, it will go up to the normal $97. But otherwise, it's been an absolute pleasure. 99. Thank you so much, everyone who's made it. All the questions over the years. How many would that be? So if we average about, it's usually between 6 to 10. So say 8 questions a session and 100 sessions. That's 800 questions thereabouts that we've asked, which is also ballpark was about 40 odd minutes. We're kind of getting, it's usually around an hour or just under. It's close to 800 hours. So you think about that, that's several weeks worth of non-stop content if you were desperate to hear it all. But all is to say, you know, we're doing it for a reason. So thank you so much. Is it worth it to write a book? Good question, Michael. Just before we go, well, that's the same principle. I don't know because it depends on you. So why don't you write a book and then find out if it's worth it? Depends what you're trying to. And thank you very much. I'm going to end here with Instagram. And bye-bye to YouTube and the podcast.